Well, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, all of the member of this house and also the Honorable Mr. Satria. We are from second group. We would like to conduct the sixth chapter of this class, that is databases and information management. Next. Well, firstly, we'd like to introduce our group. The first is Anisa Luthfiah, number 13, and the second is Salsabila, number 27, and also Davit, number 31, and Tasya Sifa, number 32, Sulistya Indah, number 33, Septianti Laili, number 37, and me, Sekar, number 39, Sonia Zaki, number 99, and the last is Alliya Rahmani, number 118. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the first we would like to talk about the importance of data management for better decision making and also customer analysis. Well, the importance of data management, the first is help to store data orderly, and the second is get to know the interests of the consumer by processing companies' internal data. Usually, this done by business intelligence analysis. There is quotation say that business analytic is allowing managers to understand the dynamic of their business, anticipate market shifts, and also manage the risk. And the next, we would like to talk about file organization terms and concepts. There are three main parts of database. The first is files, the second is records, and the third is fields. First, we're gonna talk about files. Think of a box of willing cards like those sometimes uses in library. A device's equivalent of the complete box is a file. And the second is record. Within the library card box are the individual cards, each of which contains information about the book. In a computer in a computer database, a card known as a record, and most of database will display one record on the screen at one time. And the last is fields. On each card will be the number of different information like title, author, publisher, and also the unique code, or usually we call it as ISBN. So it is the relationship between file, record, and fields. As we can see there that a file is content of bunch of records, and every records contains a field, which is written, title, author, publisher, and also ISBN. Next. So the next is we're gonna talk about the problem with the traditional file environment. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in most organizations, system tended to grow independently without a company-wide plan, such as accounting, finance, manufacturing, sales, human resources, and marketing all developed their own system and data files. So in traditional approach to information processing, each application, of course, required its own files and its own computer program to operate. So there are 5 problems that caused by its situation. The first is program data dependence, poor security, lack of flexibility, lack of data sharing, and also availability. And the last is data redundancy and also inconsistency. Next. We're gonna talk about the first problem, that is program data dependence. Every traditional computer program has to describe the location and nature of the data with which it works. So in a traditional file environment, any change in a software program could require a change in the data accessed by that program. So such changes could cost millions of dollars to implement properly. Next. The second problem is poor of security. Because there is little control or management of data, access to and dissemination of information may be out of control. So management may have no way of knowing who is accessing or even making changes to the organization data. The third problem is lack of flexibility. A traditional file system can deliver routine uh, can can deliver routine scheduled reports after extensive programming efforts, but it cannot deliver ad hoc reports or respond to unanticipated information requirement in a timely fashion. Next. And the fourth problem is lack of data sharing and availability. Information cannot flow freely across different functional areas or different parts of the organization. Next. And the last problem that we're gonna talk is data redundancy and inconsistency. Data redundancy is the presence of duplicated data in multiple data files so that the same data are stored in more than one more location. Data redundancy occurs when different groups in an organization independently collect the same piece of data and store it independently of each others. Next. Well, the next will be explained by my friends.
Okay, I want to continue about the presentation about databases or management system. Databases is servers manage application by centralizing data and controlling redundant data. And then databases management system about, such as interfaces between application and physical data files, spreads logical and physical views of data, and then solve problems of traditional file environment. Okay, next. Okay, now this is about figure human resource database with multiple views. Now, okay, this is a human resource database with multiple views, such as name, SSN, Sekar, and then benefits view and payroll view. Okay, next. Okay, about the relational DBMS database management system, such as represent data as two-dimensional tables, and then its table contains data on an entity and attributes, and table grid of columns and rows. Okay, next. This is about the figure relational database tables. In the left side, this is about the supplier number. Okay, in the right side, this is a rows reconcilables. At the bottom side, this is about key field and key field primary key. Okay, now this is a part of number, and then part name, unit price, it's about and supplier number. Next, the okay, the next, my friends.
Operation of a relation DBMS, three basic operations used to develop useful sets of data. Number one is select, is a create subset of data of all records that meets that criteria. Number two, join, combine relational tables to provide user with more information than available in individual table. And number three, project is a create subset of columns in table, creating table with only the information space. Next. This is a three basic operation relation of TBMS. The select, project, and joins operation enable data from two different tables to be combined and only select attributes to be displayed. Next. Capability of database management system. Number one, data definisi probability used to specify the structure of the database content, creating and defining table and fields. Number two, there are data dictionary and automate or manual file that stores definition of data elements and their characteristic. Number three, there are qualifying and reporting. A special language such as structure query language or SQL that is used to add, change, delete, and retrieve the data in the database. And many DBMS have report generation capability for creating police reports. For the example, Microsoft Access. Next. This is example access data dictionary system. Next.
Okay, this is the picture of an access of query. Next. Next. Databases. In creating databases, there are of designing. The first is conceptual design, the logical design, and the third is physical design. First, conceptual design. At this stage, the design is made in the form of an overall concept. This stage focuses on material that will be used without the logical of database storage, physical consideration of the database. This stage is usually the first cut ERD, entity relationship diagram. The second is design. There will be a process of validating the existing data, whether it is in accordance with base logics and is structured appropriate. At this stage, normally stage can also be carried out to see the suitability of the that supports existing transactions. The third, physical design. This stage focuses more on visual database in detail. Data storage and relation to the database will be created at this stage. Not only structural and data relationship, but also paying attention to the input data that will be stored in the database. Then an existing design will be created or it can be constructing a database. A correct data model doesn't deal for a system serving the business well. Next. There are also three of data model in this case. The first is normalization, the second referencability, the third is entity relationship diagram. The first normalization, streamlining complex groupings to minimize redundant data elements and avoid to many relationships. The second, referential integrity. Referential integrity refers relationship between tables because each table in a database must have a primary key. This primary key can appear in other tables because of its relationship to data. The third, entity relationship or ERD. ERD shows the relations of the entities stored in a database. Entities are data components. In other words, ERD describe the logical structure of the database. Next. We can look at the picture. This is the model how looks like a normalized relation for order. This is before normalization. Next.
The next is the picture of normalized that tables created from order. The data is decided by four groups or four elements, and the one is order, line item, part, and supplier. Next. This is the relationship diagram. Order, line item, part, and supplier. Next. Non-relational database definitions. A database that is non-SQL or non-relational, in other words, it does not recognize relationship between tables. The fundamental difference with SQL is that it does not recognize relationship between tables and does not require the same structure for each record. The characteristic non-relational database first is more flexible data model. The second is data set stored across distributed machine. The third is easier to scale. The fourth is handle large volumes of unstructured and unstructured data. The type of NoSQL is key value, document, graph, and column. Next. Database in the cloud. The definition is a cloud database is a database that typically runs on a cloud computing platform, and access to the database is provided as a service. Characteristic the database in the cloud appeal to startup, smaller business, most relational database service, Microsoft SQL, Azure, private clouds. Two main methods for running a database in the cloud. The first is virtual machine image. Cloud platforms allow users to purchase virtual machine instance for a limited time, and one can run a database on such virtual machine. The second is database as a service. With a database as a service model, application owners do not have to install and maintain the database themselves. Next.
Okay, the next is blockchain. Blockchain is a series of blocks containing digital information. Each of these blocks has a component called a hash. Hash is a test Hash is a set of characters that make up various pieces of information on a block. On a blockchain network, all data and programs are replicated throughout the network. Computers connected in this network then execute the program together. Next. Characteristic blockchain. Number one, distribute leader in a peer-to-peer distribute database. Number two, maintains a growing list of records and transactions shared by all. Number three, encryption used to identify participant and transaction. Number four, used for financial transaction, supply chain, and medical records. And number five, foundation of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Next. Uh, Blockchain works at the number one, an order is submitted by a user or customer user verification, and number two, the transaction is broadcast to a P2P network of computer transaction validation, and number three, the transaction is validated by other in the network. The block is add number four, the block is add to the chain of transaction for this user. Number five, production, warehouse, logistic, and additional blocks. And number six, the order is fulfilled. Next. The challenge of big data. The time make the data more complex. So the challenge of big data, innovating new tools and technologies to manage and analyze that data. Next, business intelligent infrastructure. Infrastructure business is a profit to build data. Component array of tools, data warehouse, data marts, head top, in memory computing, next.
Analysis tools, relationship patterns and trends. Tools to consider, analyze, and provide access to large amount of data to help users make better business decisions. Is right for the first is multimedia data analysis, or we call OLAP, and second data mining, third text mining, and last web mining. Next. Online analytical processing. The definition: an online tool used to perform multi-dimensional data analysis and provide the ability for complex calculation, trend analysis, and sophisticated data modeling. And then, before we do an analysis of data, usually we will collect and classify the required of data. Then after that we combine them. OLAP Cube is the main feature that this application offers is the cube concept. OLAP Cube is a data structure optimized of extreme fast data analysis. The data will be entered into the cell and will be preset with a 3D spreadsheet from forming a cube. This makes it easy to analyze the data. And how it works is the data will be taken from the warehouse data. After that, the data will be entered the data cleaning process. Then the data will be entered into the OLAP or OLAP Cube server. The data that has been entered will then enter the analyze process. Next. And OLAP database filter have 5. OLAP has a database features that is accept to be the difference between similar application, which is commonly called FASME. And for FAST is a retriever of data must be less than 5 seconds, support all business scenario and all type of analysis. The data structure present is very fast. And second, sharing. OLAP support sharing and support on all device and at all the same time must maintain an integrity of the data and a coordinate security system. And third, multidimensional. The system will be provide a multidimensional concept view with full support. OLAP does not limit the maximum data dimension, so you can maximize it as needed. Last, information. Data and derived information required must be relevant to OLAP. It will calculate all the requirement need when the data is entered into the system. There are many considerations here include the data duplication, RAM required, disk space utilization, and performance integration with the data warehouse and the like. Next. Nah, OLAP basic analysis operation. There are 4 basic operation in OLAP, that is roll up. Roll up is also known as merging or joining Rollup is done in two ways, namely reduce dimension, clean up concept inherently. And second, drill down is opposite process of rollup. Rollup is the process of combining several hierarchies into one. Drill down is the process of breaking down a hierarchy into several parts. And dice is opposite process of slice, which combines several cube into one whole cube. And last, pivot is a feature what you can change the axis of a cube. Its a purpose is give you a new perspective to the data. Next. Yeah, and then this multidimensional data model like this.
Okay, for the next is about data mining. So actually, here data mining is a process of discovering patterns in large data sets involving methods at the intersection of machine learning, statistic, and database systems. And the second one here, there is data mining techniques. So the first is about classification, and here the data will differentiate by the class, and then there is clustering, outer, and then we find for the decision trees. After we get the decision trees, we can associate the data, and then we take the prediction here. Then there is sequential patterns, and so actually the sequential pattern is the important thing in data mining, because actually we need to discover the patterns of the data. And then the last one is regressions. And then the next is about text mining. Actually, text mining also referred to as text data mining, similar to the text analytics. And actually, this is a process of verifying high quality information from text. There's also the process of text mining. The first is text pre-processing, and here is the first techniques. And the second one is text transformation. So after the processing of the first, there is a transformation after the text mining is progress. And the third one is feature selection. After there is transformation, the data will get the selection. And after that, there's data mining, and the last one is evaluate. So the next, after text mining, there is also web mining. Here is about the process data mining too. They automatically discover and extract information from web documents and services. So there's also the process of web mining. The first is pre-processing, then pattern discovery, and also pattern analysis. Okay, so there's also database and the web. Actually, database is an organized collection of structured information or data typically stored electronically in a computer system. So there's also the typical configuration includes the first if web server, the second one application server, and actually this is middleware or CGI scripts. And the third typical configuration is about database server, hosting, data business management system. And the third is about advantage of using the web for database access. So what is the advantage here? Actually, there are three advantages. For the first is ease of use of browser software. And the second one is about web interface requires few or no changes to database. And the third one is about inexpensive to add web interface to system. Okay, and the next will be delivered by my friend Sulis.
Well, why are information policies, data administration, data quality assurance important for managing corporate data source? Next. Uh, Establishing an information policies. Every company, large or small, needs an information policy. Companies must have rules about how data will be managed, maintained, and who is allowed to view or change the data. In small companies, information policies are implemented by owner, whereas in large companies, managing and planning information resources often requires formal data administration function. Data administration function to regulate certain policies and procedures which data can be managed as an organizational resources. Data administration function include of developing information policies, data planning, monitoring logical database, and developing data dictionaries, monitoring how information system specialists and end user use data. Next. Data governance deal with policies and process to regulate the availability, usability, integrity, and security of data used in companies with a special emphasis on promoting privacy, security, data quality, and compliance with government regulation. Database administration function to define and manage the structure and content the database and maintain the database. Next, ensuring data quality. A well-designed database and information policies will go a long way in ensuring that a company has the information it needs. Data that it's inaccurate, premature, or inconsistent with the source of the information can lead wrong decision, product recall, and financial loss. Some data quality issues are caused by redundant and inconsistent data generated by multiple systems consuming too much of the data warehouse. Next. In connection with this, it is necessary to conduct the data quality analysis. This can be start by identify and correct faulty data, and then we conducting data quality audits. What is data quality audits? Companies have a huge volume of data, right? Before the company use the such data, auditing must have to ensure that the data set fulfills the company's goals, and companies need to identify the correctness of data by surveying samples from data files. After that, we can conduct data cleansing or data scrubbing, includes activities to detect and correct data in incorrect, complete, incorrect, incomplete, incorrectly formatted or redundant database, as well as improve consistency between different data sets originating with different information system. These activities are carried out with special software that is useful for cleaning data. Next. How MIS help my career? There are database management R software that make it possible to organize data in database. For example, DBMS or OODBMS or ODBMS. And then in addition, companies can easily create information policies and data administration. Next. That's enough of the presentation from our group. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.